Good afternoon, good evening, good night, good morning, wherever you're from. Welcome in. Welcome to day 7 of IAE live streaming and DGP, me covering it. And yeah, hopefully not too much of a delay. You probably heard the thing pinging a little bit when I first started clicking. It wouldn't be one of my streams without technical problems, and that's what we had, but we're all good now. I've fixed it. I've done fixed it. So today we are looking at a couple of things that are going to be really, really interesting. We've got the limited time sales of the Consolidated Outland Pioneer. We have the last chance, really, during IAE, including the finale and stuff, to secure the ARGO Raft at its current price. And we have the new vehicle coming, the MDC from Greycat. So that's where we are. But before we go any further, good evening to Jamlack, to Kelko, to Truther, Del Kenobi, Jammy Bugger, good to see you, my friend. Space Saga, Tibbs, JP Jeep, to Jukester, to SMG1707, to Ray Louderbeck, Black Mage, Major Star Stuff, hello buddy, good to see you, and Ashra, Teapot, and everyone else that I've not yet said hello to, welcome in, it's good to see you all. Another successful stream in the making, I am sure. And I am going to do my level best to stop saying on stream. Feel free to call me out, because when I'm watching streams, nothing bothers me more than silly sounds. So there's always the without further ado. After they've spent 4 minutes talking about shite, there's the ums, and I realise I do them, that doesn't help. And there's all of the other stuff that goes on as well. Things like mouths that sound really wet, or people chewing on stream, that sort of stuff. It's just So I'm going to do my best. And now, it's been freezing all morning, and I've had the fleece on, and I've just turned the heating off, but it is warm enough that I might actually just take this off on stream, because, yeah, it's toasty. It's warm, I'm not going to lie. I've done a good job of that. So, it's not going to happen, says Mad Teapot, thank you. Nkasune, hello. It seems like it also could be the last chance to get the Pioneer at its current price, unless they sell it again at Industry Week. Interesting point there. Hey, Stunner, good to see you all. Yeah, that's a really interesting point, actually. With the Pioneer currently in the works, the question is, when do we think we're going to get base building? And if that's before November of next year, there is a very reasonable chance that this could be the last chance to see Consolidated Outland's Pioneer. Normally, at this point, I would say something like, but I don't see it happening. I'd be very surprised if we got base building to the extent that the Pioneer is justified by November next year. I don't see it myself, but the reason I'm tempering that is I'm always a little bit cautious, especially when it ships like Consolidated Outland's Pioneer, that people really like. I'm always a little bit tentative of saying that, and people go, well, I didn't secure it because Badgers said. Okay, if you think at any chance there is a risk and you want this ship and you absolutely want to engage in the F5 Wars nonsense that happens for hull limited ships, I'm struggling to find a reason why you shouldn't do it. So that's where we are. As we'll always do, we'll start off the stream with a very quick look at where they are in funding, just to, not so much to go oh my god, they've raised so much money, meh. There's a video coming on that shortly. This is more about looking at the different days and how they compare with each other. So, without further ado, let's take a look. I'm sorry, I had to do it. I've got to take the fun out of myself a little bit, right? It's a silly amount so far. Socially, you're not wrong. Welcome in, friend. Good to see you, and you're not wrong. Stuff. I haven't seen you in quite a while, mate. How are you doing? While we scoot over to the funding stats. So, Avi says, I have one in hangar and another in buybacks. Was lucky to get them before they talked about bell splitting again, and it became real hard to get. Absolutely. Sanctuary, welcome in. Luna, hello. You've just finished your morning tea. Well, fantastic. And if you are a fan of tea, you have the right person in chat. Major Star Stuff. The Intergalactic Tea House is in with us, and he is mad for all things tea. So if you're looking for some recommends, he is absolutely the right person to talk to. Go have a look at his streams, go have a look at his channel and stuff. He's absolutely mad for tea, and I can see why. tea is what built the British Empire. That's probably not the right thing to be saying anymore, right? But yeah, whatever. No, mate, you're always welcome. No note of your absence other than to make sure that you're okay, but there's no problems at all. I hope you're doing well. Red Samurai, hello, my friend. Good to see you. I just kind of killed Solo in Tarkov with a lever action. Sorry for off topic, but that feels good. I'm really pleased. Tarkov is a tough game to deal with. So, yes, if you've done well in Tarkov, then hats off to you, so well done. And what sank the Empire? Shut up, Stunner. Why you got to bring that up, man? Anyway, what's really really interesting. So you have to forgive me here because this is gonna test my memory a little bit. But we had RSI for day one, and we had a good day. We then had the Origin for day two. Okay day. I mean, okay day. They took 2 million in a day. Who am I kidding? But relative. I'm being relative. We then had Drake for day three, and Drake, so far, the surprise runaway of the show. It's not a surprise because they had two ships coming, it's a surprise because Drake is very much a Marmite manufacturer. You either love it or you hate it. So it's good to see that obviously more love than hate this time round for Drake, the Clipper and the Golomox. So a lot of money. We then dropped down, and I forget the orders that these were in. Was that the Misfits Day? Was that the Asperia, Banu, all that sort of stuff? Then we had the Kruger Intergalactic and the other manufacturers. Yesterday was Anvil, and now we're coming up to Greycat, Argo, and Consolidated Outland. But what's really interesting to see there is Anvil, with a manufacturer with no time-limited hulls and anything else, doing better than manufacturers with time-limited hulls and with a new ship released. So it just goes to speak to the whole strength of the Anvil lineup. Definitely hate it, says Stunner. Nice. Socially Confused says 150 million. Really is on track for 150 million. This year. I can go and load that up, actually. We can have a look if you like. So let me have a look at the funding dashboard as well. This is done by, I believe this is a third-party site. So this is the Tableau Interactive. I've been flash banged because it's a white background and I'm not interested enough to change it. So let's have a look now. Good Lord, this is looking all very kind of compressed. But I don't know if we're going to quite get to 150. I reckon we might be on track for maybe 135, 140 at the top end. But we can see here already, they started November. At the back end of November of their previously best performing year, which is 2023, just over here. Let's see if we can zoom in a bit, make that. There we go, that's better. And now have basically gone 10 mil over where they were before. We've still got the war bonds that'll be available today. We've still got all that sort of good stuff. So yeah. There's a lot left to go. And we've got, maybe there'll be a new ship in December. We have had a new ship every month, so I'm not seeing why not, although it might be a little bit optimistic. After such a successful IAE, maybe they'll just kind of hold off. Who knows? Also, you've got the things like the patch packs with the armor and the time-limited armor and skins with their, for ships and stuff. And they seem to have been doing quite well, as on top of all that, because of the amount of those that you see around in the verse when you're going. The medic armor was really popular. The Palatino armor was really popular. There's been a lot. And there's a lot of people at the 2 packs that were released this month as well. The almost World of Warcraft-like armor. Ninja Sicko, I think that's what we're going for. F8C, F8, yeah, the F8s. So the interesting thing about the F8 was the F8 wasn't actually that kind of surprising in and of itself. What was surprising about it was that obviously they removed the requirement for you to have redeemed a golden ticket. And that was it. That was all that got removed. I'm being specific about my words because despite the fact I mentioned yesterday multiple times that you had to redeem a golden ticket, someone decided that because I said that once without the redeem, I just said golden ticket, I'd somehow given everyone the wrong information. I don't know. Go figure. But that's what I mean when I say that going forward. There's the Hermes, says Mad Teapot. Possibly, possibly not. That might have been a complete kind of red herring. Sanctuary says, do you think we'll see a spike from Pioneer sales? That's where the P came in. Good question, well asked. We don't ever see, I don't think, how many of those that they release. They might release a few more because we know that crafting is coming. They've talked about there in the progress reports being a working version of crafting now. Crafting bench has appeared for the first time on the Clipper. We know the Pioneer is going to be able to craft everything up to and including ships, as well as use drones to build bases. So possibly they might release a little bit more just to kind of push that way. Greycat, not a huge amount of lineup from that manufacturer, and Argo, there are a few bits and pieces. I'm going to go on record now, just before we go live, and say that I think the mole is going to be the Warbond, but we'll see. They might be really nice and do it to the Raft, knowing that the Raft's going to go up in price, but I don't think that. Honestly, I don't think that's going to happen. So, yeah, Terrapin Medic, last moment, literally seconds to get hold of that, and whilst I drink from my copium bottle that I poured into an old bottle of Diet Lemonade, you guys let me know, what do you think the Warbond is going to be for today? Could be the Raft, says Black Mage. Mole, like you said, says Truther. Enkisune says... also, so we've seen how CIG likes to coincide big updates with sales to supercharge the sales. It seems logical that base building might release at IAE next year. Very possibly, like demoed at SitCon in depth, maybe, and then gone from there. I'm going to keep hitting F5 just to, kind of keep flashbanging myself and by extension you guys. One manufacturer is today, says Matt. So it's Greycat, Argo, and Consolidated Outland. There we go. We are live. Now, I just want to try this. I want to see, just for fun, let's go all the way across to... Oh, it's not letting me. It's still loading because I've got no arrow to go across. Here we go. That's better. No, it's still loading again. This might be the F5 Wars. Consolidated Outland. Let's see then, very, very quickly, the Pioneer. Can I buy it, or is it's already sold? It's already gone. For God's sake. Oh, good Lord. Yeah. That's tough. That's tough. I'm hoping that people... I did again, didn't I? I'm really hoping that people who want the Consolidated Outland have managed to get it. Bear in mind that every 4 hours... up to 1200 tomorrow UTC, there will be another tranche of this released. So just bear that in mind. Don't despair if you didn't get it. If you're trying to get hold of it, give it another go. I've got my fingers crossed for you guys. The F5 Wars are just awful. I'm hoping then that you will get what it is that you're after. Okay, so Greycat Industrial then, let's go through. I'm just going to have a very, very quick look. I'm hoping that what we've seen is there. The behind the ships is here, so... Shh. Don't do that yet. I'm going to pop that across. I'm going to make sure we've got the volume ready to go. Top tier streaming this, ladies and gents. Top tier. You won't find this anywhere else. Let's have a look.
Earlier this year at Invictus, we introduced the Greycat MDC, which is the first in a family of ground vehicles from Greycat. The MDC was designed as this sort of utilitarian, all-purpose rover-style vehicle that allows two players to just bomb around the battlefield, exploring, storage on board for whatever they need, and then as well having mission storage boxes on the back. So really, it's a ground vehicle capable of doing the majority of our ground vehicle roles. And today we're introducing the MDC, which is your Mobile Defense Center.
That's a cool animation.
The MDC is the ultimate ground support vehicle that you can take into battle.
It's designed to give you that little bit extra protection.
There are some Bond Marooners who are
There's no
very
vehicle
unhappy.
that's better to support your team.
The first thing you're going to notice when you see the MDC is the PDT on the back, and Point Defense Turret. The PDT itself is new. It's a ballistic Gatling version of the existing bearing point defense turrets we have elsewhere in the game.
Nice. Reloads, question mark?
Obviously, being a ballistic, it has finite ammo, so this will need to go back to a location to reload. But the trade-off for that is that it has an increased alpha damage, so it is more useful against shielded and armored targets.
So the reason we decided to put a PDT on a ground vehicle was because when you have events like Jumptown and people are there loading their ships and getting other bits and pieces, you're very vulnerable to attack, giving them a different means to actually defend themselves, or if they're on their own.
The PDT on the MDC is swappable. So that means you can have the missile variant, the Gatling variant, and the laser variant. The missile and the laser variant is now available in 4.4 within in-game stores.
In-game stores. Good.
Driving the MDC around is very much like driving the MTC around. Its handling is almost identical. It's capable of getting to places the MTC is capable of getting, and can be carried in the same sort of vehicles as the MTC. But whilst you're driving around, the PDT is automatically engaging threats against you as a player, whether that's incoming ordnance or ships. But as an added bonus, it is also very useful as a base defense mechanism. You can park this vehicle up, leave it there, and then it will continue the same role of defending against targeted ordnance and ships whilst you're outside the vehicle.
The exterior is a mix between utilitarian and minimalistic. We wanted to find good balance between those.
The MXC is a really nice chassis to work with. We thought about the different variants when we were designing the base chassis, and I think it lends itself really well. It kind of leans into that military idea of they don't want to be making everything from scratch. They want parts to be serviceable, they want them to be interchangeable.
Truth.
We've tried to keep the overall silhouette of the vehicle and its overall size as close to the main chassis as we can, but then when it jumps into action, the turret lifts up on this big platform that is very well supported, very, very strong, and it gives a little bit greater visibility, not only of the sky, but also of the surrounding area.
Sorry.
You can see the engineering that's gone into it, and I think it's really successful in conveying what its purpose is.
The interior is based on the teenage engineering design, rounded corner and bold buttons.
As soon as you walk in, on the rear wall, it's all of the components. So everything you need to make the vehicle drive, everything you need to make the vehicle function.
My favorite part of interior is those two weapon racks next to each other, and just open the door, access to weapon rack, get the gun and go back.
You've got your fire extinguisher, and then you're straight into the cockpit, straight into driving it around and blowing things up.
I can definitely see these being used a lot within the universe, especially at things like Jumptown style events or the DMR rally, where there's always a threat of incoming ships ruining everyone's fun, or causing everyone's fun. I suppose it depends what side you're on.
It's my first ship vehicle that I worked on it from scratch, and really amazing concept from Sam.
I really have a good time designing it and finding ways of putting everything together, making everything fit and worked within the constraints of the vehicle.
This is the second vehicle in the family that we're showing, and I think you can see that commonality between the two existing ones, and it just adds that extra utility, which I think is very useful.
And we're off to the MFC next year for crafting.
It's for someone that wants to take those extra few steps just to ensure that something's looking out for them, that something's protecting them.
So what happens to the person who gets 30 of these and lines the top of their 890 jump with them?
That person feels really safe.
Can I just pick up on something they said there?
There's a threat of incoming ships ruining everyone's
Concept from Sam.
Making everything fit and worked within the constraints of the vehicle.
This is the second vehicle in the family that we're showing, and I think you can see that commonality between the two existing ones.
Maybe not this bit.
And it just adds that extra utility, which I think is very useful.
And we're off to the MFC next year for crafting.
MFC next year with crafting. Now, that could be, to be fair, that could just be that the MFC is coming next year and that's that. I don't hear it like that, I don't think. I always caution a little bit there that it might not be that these comments are always left open to speculation. And of course, nothing's ever a promise, right? But there's that. So let's take a closer look then at the Mobile Defense Center. Defense driven. Clear the skies and set your sights with Greycat's Industrial's newest addition to its growing ground vehicle family. Industrial. The threat-thwarting MDC. This sturdy rover keeps its wheels on the ground and its aim in the air as its automated PDT, the first to grace any ground vehicle, takes on incoming ordnance that descends to ruin your day. Another functional triumph for Greycat and the ultimate ground support vehicle for your squad. Yeah. So there's that. I love it. Like one thing gets said, and it's like this is confirmed. So this is confirmed. So this is confirmed. The rumor mill on this game is insane. Yeah. Activate. There's a couple of things that I liked from that. The fact that it sits back down in the vehicle truck bed and then pops up. It increases the number of ships that it can get into, right? You can imagine from there that's going to be slightly problematic if it just sat like that the whole time. So as well as the rule of cool and it looking awesome as it comes up, the fact that it sits back down is going to massively increase the ships that can take this thing. Keeps going even if you're not in the vehicle. The MDC's automated turret activates even when you step outside, meaning you can take care of ground attacks while the PDT covers the sky. I don't know where the accent's coming from. I'm going for it. We're rolling with it, and it's all right. So that's where we are. The Timberwolf paint. That's a better Timberwolf than the ones that we've seen. It's going for the digital camo, the blocky idea. We have the Cadet, which is literally factory standard, not even applied to paint to it, because, let's face it, Cadets will just scratch it off. We have the Perdition paint and the Icefront paint. Again, a nice kind of digital camo there. So yeah. PDTs. They did well with this. The PDT turrets, the ballistics, are now in the stores, as they said, as are the laser ones, which is useful. So that's in the in-game stores available for cash. I don't know if they've done that yet with the Wolf bespoke weapon packs. If they haven't, they really need to. That would be a misstep for me if they didn't do that. So, there we go. So looking at it, let's go and see if we've got a war bond. This is where I always go for this sort of stuff. So MDC, oh no, standard edition, it's $50, as someone's already said, I think. You're lucky if that's all the cadets do the paintwork. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. I did again. Raylan and base building next year confirmed from IAE. I don't know about Raylan. I think Raylan is just being moved. The reason I say I'm not sure about Raiden, because Raft and Hull A are both getting price changes as well. And they're out. So it much more to me feels like they're rejigging cargo. Now, that's not to say it's not coming. But I don't think it's an indication that... I don't think that should be someone's primary justification for the fact that it is coming. Hopefully that makes sense. So that's where we are. The MXC Perdition paint is the limited time one. So just bear that in mind. It looks like these are very much going to be... So it's the MXC. So MXC is the code for the closet code for all of them. So that'll apply to your MDC and MTC. And the MFC, which will be the Mobile Fabrication Center, when that appears. So there's that. I just saw something there. That's interesting. No, it is just the MDC. So it's brought up pictures of Is that telling us then that's what I was looking at. So I saw the missile turret, I was like, what? So you include the limited edition Perdition paint, plus missile and laser point defense if you want to swap them out, and the Ice Front camo paint, which is the Chairman's Club version. So that's the difference between that one and that one. So you get all 3 PDCs, and you get the, whatever it's called, the Perdition paint, the dark skin one, and then the ice camo, the digital white camo, if you are Chairman's Club. Interesting. And then there's the duo pack, obviously, which is actually, again, not a bad little saving, I guess. Means you're getting one for much less than the other. Not a bad saving at all. Again, use cases for ground vehicles are always kind of very specific. I've seen a lot of people say that the main reason to employ ground vehicles at the moment is for things like PvP situations. You go into a PvP, if you rock up with something like a Spartan or a Tonk, Storm, you can do a lot of damage against players, right? Most players are not rocking into combat with a railgun on their back. Some are, but most are not. It tends to be like a sniper and a more medium to close range gun. There are absolutely other uses, so we used things like, we used dragonflies and that sort of stuff to go into Hathor, because it stops, if your ship's 40-50k out and it's only a small signature ship anyway, you could use the dragonfly to go the rest of the way, and it means people aren't destroying your ship just because it's sat near Hathor and they want to blow it up, especially useful if they're medical ships. So that's another use for them. And this, especially, they got the use case bang on for things like Jumptown and any point. I can see a lot of these at Hathor at the mining site is going to be useful there. There's a reason to use this. Certainly, I feel like they made that. There's still going to be a lot of people out there who are saying, this isn't for me, it's not useful, and I get that 100%. That's 100% where we are. But Greycat MDC, not as questionable a use case as many. The PDCs are currently available in Nix. I wasn't able to find in Stanton, says Charlie. Well, thank you very much for looking for us. Is the MX family just the Halo Warthog? Possibly. Pretty useful LTI token to have sitting around while waiting to complete your chain, says Mark Excellent. You're not wrong, and welcome in, friend. Good to see you. Same with Sebastian, Malemba, Ken P. Everyone else I haven't said hello to. Apologies if I missed you, but there we go. Yep, someone take Dell's credit card off him, for fuck's sake. So there's that. LTI in this makes more sense because you're likely to leave it behind. Very, very possibly. I'm putting 10 of these around my log cabin. Overkill is underrated. Absolutely. That's Greycat. Then the rest of the Greycat lineup, which we'll scoot through very, very quickly. The MTC, the PTV, the ROC, and the questionable ROC DS. They've also got the Steve, the STV. So much of this is industrial. I can kind of see where they were going with the MTC. The idea of having weapons for people on the ground if they need them. Like literally the armory. The addition of the twin turret on top makes it more of a combat vehicle, I think, than a support vehicle. But, you know, there we go. And then the MDC as a point defense, base defense. I get why, I get why they've added that, but it does kind of start pushing Greycat more into the military contract or manufacturer than it does, you know, a little bit more towards that than maybe people were hoping. We had exactly the same conversation with Crusader when Crusader happened. Argo Astronautics, what did we get? SRV as the war bond. Interesting. What do people think of the SRV being the war bond? What do you reckon? So $15 off. So it's better than the $10 I was expecting. Meh, says Ashra. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. SRV is so niche, they need help to sell it. I get it. Meh, it's a star sale. CRG may want more people. Maybe that's what it is. They found an area, you know, if you've got something where 80% account, a ship where 80% of accounts have it, a war bond there is questionable because only 20% of people are really going to be in the market. Maybe a little bit more because there will be some people who maybe want another one or want it as part of a chain, but there'll also be less because not all of the remaining 20% are going to want it. There's not going to be a ship that 100% of people want. It just isn't. Even with amazing ships like the Perseus and the Wolf, there are going to be people out there who are industrial players only and don't want it. So there's that. Argo still very much fulfilling the industrial with one exception that we'll talk about. Atlas, this is really useful in your account at the time for the time being. It's so cheap though. It's very easy. I think for cargo haulers, it's that great kind of zero to hero. One of your first purchases is the Atlas. That's just a really nice kind of part of the progression because it is so cheap. Atlas Geo, CSV, SM, and the FM that will be coming in afterwards, which is the fabrication vehicle, which will be coming, I would imagine, with the MFC and with the first part of crafting. Can the driver operate the PDC? I'm guessing not. I'm guessing that it's automated. And can you reload the PDC in the field? Not at the moment, Artemis. They said specifically, if you run out of ammunition, you'll need to take it back to somewhere to repair. Sorry, to rearm. They did say that in the video. John Crew said it. Was the whole beer bond on Misk Day? No, Misk's Day was the... What was it? I can't remember now. Oh, it was the Guardian, because it was the Misk Mirai Day. So it was the Guardian was the war bond. Guardian MX. So there's that. Then we have the Mole, which is what I thought it was going to be this time round. The MPUV Cargo, the MPUV Personnel, and the MPUV Tractor. And I've just remembered I need an MPUV Personnel. For reasons I'm not going to go into now, but I need one. I need it. I need that. I need that one. So I'm going to go get one of those once we're done here. So yeah. No, you're very welcome, Stephen. You're very welcome. Can you believe that the Mustang Alpha is still only $30? We'll have a look at that in just a second. Can I believe it? Yeah, sure. Why not? MPUV Tractor. Have one of these. Thanks, Del. I own one of these. Raft really, really showed off its kind of value during the recent cargo missions and the cargo events, the dynamic events that we had in game. They did a really good job. I mean, they were abandoned everywhere, but that wasn't anything to do with the Raft. That was to do with crappy freight elevators, right? So really good to see these out. Obviously, their cargo went up hugely. They were only, I think at one stage, they were 64, 90, 96 SCU of cargo. It was 332 SCU containers, right? So they've gone up almost 100 SCU, which is crazy. And in terms of upgrade, if upgrade is what you are after, there are some ships and vehicles that sit quite nicely. So once again, for those who are wanting to secure the Raft right now but can't afford to get the whole thing, you can get a $5 CCU from one of these. I would absolutely recommend potentially the Alpha Wolf or the Nova. The Legionnaire's not been released yet, so it's going to go up in price. The nice thing about the Alpha Wolf and the Nova is because they've been released. The Alpha Wolf, I can't remember if it's even got a war bond upgrade, but if it has, that's great. If it hasn't, then whatever. But if you're going to upgrade, you want to do that to something like the Nova that's been released, and we're not expecting a price increase anytime soon. So all you've got to do now is afford a Nova when you want to get up to the Raft. And no matter what this goes up to in price, that $5 CCU will still get you there. So that's good news. Raft became one of my favourites, says Truther. Yeah, absolutely. Will CIG give the Paladin 2 PDCs? It's a military gunship. The Perseus has 6. I don't know. I kind of doubt it, just because the amount of turrets already on it. So it has a fair amount of turrets, and it is a small ship. I don't know. They might do, they might not. I haven't really thought about it, but it's possible that they could go that way with it. I think I'm going to melt my Connie Taurus as Black Mage. I love the Connie, but the Raft is better. Interesting. No Warb on CCU for Wolf 22. Thank you very much. So yeah, so the other ones then, the Tonk is probably a good choice. They have already said no, have they, Astra? Okay, thank you very much for that. So yeah, Raft, and one of the nice things about the Raft was you were able to load and unload cargo without having to deal with the risk of having your ship open. And that kind of people stealing from you sort of thing, or sneaking onto your ship while you're not looking. It's one of my big fears with the Spirit when I'm loading and unloading it, is that someone sneaks in and then hides behind some of the crates somewhere and then jumps out and ganks me when I'm in space. I do have this thing of checking it when I go back on board and just making sure, you pull your gun out and have a look around. Or if you're somewhere with an armistice zone, you at least look and then maybe store it if someone's in it, and then unstore it to kick them out of it. As far as I'm aware, or as far as I know, says Wiggy, the Liberator will be the next ship to get PDCs, very possibly. So yeah, that's where we are. I purchased the Raft on release, sat on it for ages not using it, and then it slowly became my Ironclad. Then I was able to CCU to a Raft for under $100, just as they upped the cargo, says Matt Teapot. Nice, good deal. Good deal. So that's where we are with the ARGO Raft. SRV, this manufacturer's War Bond, and then back to the Atlas. And then Consolidated Outland. We have a couple of the Mustangs kicking around. We've got the Hover Quad, many an LTI chain, many a CCU chain built off of that. We have the various Mustangs, the Alpha still being $30, Beta, Delta, Gamma, the Nomad, and the Pioneer. I don't see as many Nomads nowadays. I don't know why. It was really popular when it first came out. I don't see as many of them now. Maybe that's just I'm not seeing them. PDCs are mostly to balance large ships versus torps, true. I know I'm in the minority but far, but after the cargo event, I've actually fell out of love with the Raft. Interesting, Stano. Why was that? Why did you fall out of love with it? Hey, Pilgrim. Welcome in. Good evening, morning, good night, wherever you are. But yes, so some interesting choices in and about. Again, the War Bond this time round is the SRV, $15 off, $150 down from $165. I think probably this is not going to be as successful as the previous few days. I think this is probably going to be the dip, depending on how many people suddenly get excited for the MDC. I would imagine there are some PvP orgs out there and some pirate orgs and people for whom Jumptown is a major part of their loop. Hathor is a major part of their loop. Maybe even the entrance to Stormbreaker. So where you go into Stormbreaker and catch the shuttle. That, I think, is another location where the MDC might be very, very useful. You'll think they'll sell loads, Neil says. Interesting. I guess I don't really see a lot of vehicles being bought up when this happens. Maybe it's just because they haven't chosen the right vehicles. But the fact that it's going to work when you're away from it makes it unique amongst vehicles. What would be really interesting is vehicles like the Ballista, the Spartan, will there be the option to replace the twin turret with a PDC? I know what people are going to say, that they don't go in those mounts. I get that. But is that something that CIG are potentially going to do? Because it is a massive downgrade, right? You can't use it against ground targets. You can't target it yourself. That would be a massive step down from twin size 3s. But the payoff being it works when you're not in it. So maybe it is, maybe it isn't. The Raft is so much more unwieldy to fly and maneuver and not as easy to get in and out of. I'd rather just take my Herc. Interesting. No LTI complete pack for Consolidated. No, I guess not. It's the whole limited thing, and as we saw right at the beginning of this, like it sold out in the time it took me to refresh and get it to load. It's unfortunate. I'd imagine people went in through the ship page and did it that way. There you go. Wiggy says, to be fair, the MDC looks like a great small transport that at least give you a warning if enemies get close. Absolutely that. You hear it light off, the MDC explodes, at least you know you're under attack. Starcell says, I bought one once it was confirmed automated, won't keep it forever, no doubt. That's it. Does it only target air targets? So yes, it's incoming fighters and ordnance, like any other PDC, or PDT. So yeah, there we are. Was anyone able to get their Pioneer? And is anyone trying to get the Pioneer? If you're happy to, you don't say it. If you don't, for God's sake, don't say it. If you're not happy to out yourself like that. But is anyone trying to get hold of a Pioneer? Because I'd just be really interested to know whether or not you achieve it. And I have my fingers crossed for you that you do. So yeah. Right, I'm just going to switch back to the talking head version of myself. And what I'm going to do very quickly is I'm just going to load up where I am with my fleet right now. There's a couple of other bits that I want to talk about. I want to talk about the war bonds that may or may not be coming up. There's also a little bit of good news that I'd really, really like to cover. That would be awesome. Starjump Grim, unfortunately, right at this time, he is away on holiday. Well, I mean, that's good for him. He's away from his computer. So I've had to try and add a couple of ships that aren't quite what they look like, but you'll get it when we go through and have a look. But I think the very first thing that I kind of want to look at is there's a little bit of good news. Now, I went on Spectrum because I was trying to find some information out today. I normally don't recommend you going on Spectrum. It is a wretched hive of scum and villainy. And I will be the first to admit, I absolutely got jebaited. I got rage baited in Spectrum General. By the title alone, that's all that happened. Okay, I got a title that said Star Citizen's development has lasted so long, ... And I was ready to lose my whatsits, right? And then this happened. That I finally recruited a co-pilot. She wears 6 pounds 10 ounces and elevated me to the rank of Space Dad. This was a guy called Tuck at Marshmallow Man. What a post. Awesome. Congratulations, Tuck. I wanted to share that because that's some great news. It's so rare that you see a happy thing on Spectrum. That's awesome. Well done, this guy. You know, congrats. I mean, that's a bit of a stretch for the referral bonus. I mean, you're going above and beyond there, my friend. But yes, absolutely. Great news. If anyone knows, big shout out from me. Really pleased that they achieved it. Well done. Achievement unlocked. Co-pilot. Nice. So yes, and I'm making no judgments about child labour and all that sort of stuff there. So we've had a look at the war bonds. We've got one more war bond for tomorrow, which is Anvil. Then Saturday is Best in Show Day, and then we have up until the 3rd is the finale. Now, what I wanted to check today was, are we getting daily war bond deals throughout the finale, or are they the same thing? I had a look on Spectrum, and it was remarkably unhelpful. So, what it says in its entirety is, check back each day throughout the event to see what's available. Each war bond daily deal will run for 24 hours only. This year's finale, from November the 30th until December 3rd, that's from Sunday, will include a refresh with new war bond deals that will feature only at this time for select manufacturers, and a few select officers from prior days may return. Not sure. Yeah, that's right. So we have Crusader tomorrow and then Aegis on Friday. And we'll talk about that in a second as well, because I feel like some expectations need tempering. Brackets smashing in the face repeatedly until they go away. So we're not sure. They probably, and as Avi is saying, they probably want to look at specifically how the deals work, how they act. You know, getting ones like the Banu Merchantman is always a useful one. I'm sure it sells incredibly well. B, it's for a very high value ship, so you know people have got to get themselves there in the first place. But we don't know whether the daily deals. It says the daily deals will refresh, but then it says, with regards to the finale, new war bond deals. It doesn't call them daily deals. And this is, again, as Luna said earlier on, there's that kind of mismatch with the language. So they might mean daily deals, they might not. They may well have left it open because they weren't quite sure, even at the point that they put this out, what they were going to do. At the end of the day, they can change their mind at the 11th hour, and we wouldn't know. We wouldn't be any the wiser. But that's where we are with it now. So, we have the Consolidated Outland Pioneer coming as the time-limited sale for today, as we've already seen, sold out. Then the Aegis, Idris P, and the Javelin coming on day 9. There have been interesting rumours about what's going to go on with Aegis Day. And this is because, if you look at the schedule itself, we had RSI Day 1, Origin Day 2, Drake Day 3, and so on. So every other day, we had a release. So we had RSI first day, then none for Origin, then one for Drake, then none, then one for Kruger, then none. Now we've got the MDC, and so on and so on. Aegis would be a day where that releases. That has not happened. We don't think there's anything coming, unless they got it wrong with the RSI Hermes, and it's the Aegis Hermes. Possibly. There's questions about would they just let IAE fizzle out? Don't know. Is it fizzling out? Is that even the way we would define it? Not kind of really sure on that front. It has, however, given rise to a really, really weird rumour, and that is that some people have decided, for no reason whatsoever, that they think the Javelin will be coming. I do not believe that is the case. I do not believe that the Javelin is coming. I don't think that that's the case. I think that there's a lot more that they can do, and unless they've done a huge amount of work on the interior of the Javelin since the tours and stuff that we've seen, there are a lot of missed opportunities with a ship of that size and what they could fit into the interior, especially when you look at ships like the Idris and the Perseus, with how much use they make of their interiors. I don't think that's going to be the case. That would be insane. There you go. No Javelin, maybe something else. We will not see that ship within 2 years. I agree. And I think a lot of people are making the same, or coming to the same conclusion, that just in case anyone had heard it and gone, yes, I've heard the rumour. No, I don't think it's happening. You learn to never say never in this, but I think we are as certain as we can be that that's not coming on that day. CIG, if you torpedo on me on this. So there. Would be a nice finish to IAE. I mean, Hammerhead rework could be a possibility. It's very possible. So they've been working on the gold standard. However, they were working on the gold standard for the Aurora and the Hammerhead in tandem. We haven't seen it for the Aurora. And if it's not done for the Aurora, I'm not sure whether the Hammerhead is going to get it either. Javelin would have more marketing leading up to it, like sneak peeks. Very possibly, like the Idris did. Yeah. I think the Perseus, given how early we knew about the Perseus and that sort of stuff, I don't think so. I hope they do show the Hammerhead rework. That would be cool. You're entirely correct. I think the other thing that I don't kind of... The other reason that I don't think that that's the thing, because what day are we on? So that'll be on Friday, right? I mean, it could. It could come on Friday. I just think we would have seen a lot more in Comslink. What does it say on the Comlink? What does it say on This Week in Star Citizen? And to be fair, I'm not, just to be clear, I am not looking at or for evidence that somehow there's a Javelin coming on that day. What I am looking for here... Oh, I'm blind, aren't I? What I am looking for here is evidence that there might be something coming. So let's have a look. hype level of Aurora rework versus Hammer rework. Yeah, no, I'm thinking just in terms of completion. If they weren't able to get the Aurora done, because bearing in mind they took it out of the starter packages for a while, didn't they? So why wouldn't they put it back in as a starter package? So, not even a talking shit podcast. There. My 2 tinfoil hat theories for Aegis Day, says Sanctuary, Jav or Aegis Hermes. Way back during an IRC, we saw Aegis Hermes written on a whiteboard at CIG office. Also, we did see Javelin files in the data mine. Yeah, the Javelin's been in and out of the game for forever. So, yeah. You know, the Javelin's existed in one form or another. It's been there for the tours. It's been there for the, what's it called? Xenothreat. Why was that so hard? Good lord. Brain not braining. But that's so... Javelin, I think, again, is very unlikely. Okay, there's the newsletter. It is looking a little bit sparse that day. I guess if it was filled with other stuff, you go, hey, look, they're doing so much on that day. The one thing I do want to say, and I don't think we get CIG people in here. I'm too small and insignificant for CIG to come in and say hello to badges. But what I will say is that if anyone from CIG watches this back, and just as an observation, I am often very critical of how much we get from them because they talk about being on leave, and it was like, yes, but you can schedule videos to launch. It's not an excuse. The fact that there's no one in the office, not an excuse. However, they have smashed it in IAE with the amount of behind the ships we've had. We had stuff for the Galamox. Every ship that they've released, we've had something for. Lots and lots of videos in a very short space of time. So that's been really, really good. They've explained them all. Okay, we haven't had a trailer for each ship, I don't think. I don't think there has been a one for the MDC. There hasn't been a trailer side of that. Just having a look to make sure that I'm not outing myself as a liar. No, we've had the talking shop. We've had the Greycat MDC behind the ships. There's no trailer for it. But they have done a really good job. So credit where credit's due. They have done Hermes Cargo Javelin. No, Marcus. Racing Javelin. You've heard it here first. Badgers confirms Racing Javelin for IAE, November 28th, 2025. No, don't go tell people that. Oh my god, people will... Can you imagine the rage? Do they usually release a ship between IE and end of year? Not normally, but then again, there's lots of months this year that they haven't released something, so we could see something in December. Chaos Squall says, do you think they'll ever go back and do ship commercials for vehicles that didn't get one in the past? It would be very cool. Because I think what I like at IAE is walking around the halls and hearing them. You hear the part that you're familiar with and you go, that's the... They do it with the Anvil Hornet one all the time, the one that we saw yesterday. They do it all the time, and it's really, really cool. And I think for filler, it would be kind of awesome to see that sort of stuff in the game. If they did their own in-game news channels, they've basically created themselves a bunch of commercial breaks selling their own ships, even at things like the end of the Hornet one, where they're like, you know, visit your authorized ship retailer for details, you know, ship dealer for details. Awesome. Do you know what? I'm going to put that poll up because this is people. I've just seen Ashra's comment about the rotating hall. Should they bring the rotating... I'm going to say alternating, because rotating people might just think, I think ships going around on a plinth. So there we go. Should they bring the alternating halls back for IE? What do you think? So part of me thinks I understand why they've done it, which is probably the server load and the pain in the ass of, okay, what happens to players who are still in the hall that then gets closed? Do they just get binned out? Do they have to keep that open? How does that work with changing people over? So there's probably a server load issue, but I also think that there are a lot of people coming into the game right now who haven't seen it. Many of us are old salts, so to speak. We've been around the game a lot. There are very few, the ships in game that we haven't seen going into IAE were the Perseus, the Golem Ox, the Clipper, the Alpha Wolf, and the MDC. And they were all in the halls, and now we've seen them all. But there are people coming in for the free fly who've never played this game before. And they want to see all the ships. This game's one of this game's biggest selling point is the ships. So there we go. If they released something big, they would hype it more, so people wouldn't spend so much on smaller ships, I think. They already released 6 ships this IE this year, which is more than previous years. Possibly. Every day is excessive when they don't design interesting halls. I guess I'm not seeing what you're driving at with the excessive bit. What makes it excessive? I voted no, just thinking about the add-on workload. Very potentially. Although, having said that, what you could have is you could have a center spot in all of the halls, which on a release day, the released ship goes there. If it's not a release day for that manufacturer, you can have the Warbond ship goes there. And if there's nothing there, you just put whichever ship you want to hero, right? That sort of stuff could go there as well. Because, again, the idea of, well, the layout's just the same, yes, but the whole argument to bring it back is for the people who want to see specific ships. Or for the people who are seeing it for the first time. So they're not going to know that it's a repeat. So there's that. Rotate, or if it's too pain in the ass due to reasons, then expand the halls to include all ships, perhaps 1 level per vendor. Exactly that. What I don't see is what's the problem with having everything on display the whole time. And just as Dell says, having a floor for each. So have the ARGO Greycat Consolidated Outland floor and have it available. And all that it means is either there's like a cover for the area if you haven't revealed the ship yet, or like this year when we've been able to see them all right from the beginning, just have it there and just don't have the rent option until it's ready to go, because you don't rent direct from the ships anymore. You used to walk up to the mobigrass, interact with it, and the only interact option you had was rent. Now that you're using the terminals, I don't see why you can't have every ship in on multiple floors. Just have the floors a carbon copy of each other. That actually helps, because then you know the layout, right? Like, if it's always the same layout of the floor, you look at the map, you're not going, oh, there's a connecting corridor here on this floor, but it's not on that floor, and you guys get what I'm on about. So yeah, Starcloth covering. Maybe not like that. People will break that. The event should be outside. You see how many ships were suspended in the air around the Vision Center because people were trying to get there in their own? That's a bad idea. That's just not... That's that. Plus 1 year dev time, says Teapot. I do like that they put skins on this year's Expo ships. 100%. That's good. Luna Maria says CIG wants to bring in new money and new players, so they'd never not hype small ships to focus on large that don't sell as well. Yeah, I don't see why they can't do it for all, right? There are going to be the people who always want to buy the big ships and not the little ships because they're like, hey, little ships aren't in game. They're the people who can't afford one or the other. There's all that sort of stuff. I think it is literally a horses for courses thing. But I think for anyone, just being able to run around the expo hall and see all these ships and see the interesting things, and then they go, what on earth is the Herald? And I want to go on look on what the Herald is, and what's a Perseus? What's a Perseus do? I've never seen, I've got an Intrepid as my starter ship for my free fly. What's the, oh my god, the Perseus is amazing. I don't think, other than server load, there is no drawback for me to have rotating halls in there, I don't think. However, the poll not necessarily reflecting that at the moment. So the poll is only 53% saying yes, 40, or now it's kind of changed a little bit, 47% saying no. Interesting. It's a 50-50 split, almost. I wasn't seeing that. I thought it was going to be a little bit more in favour of bringing it back, but clearly not. So here's a really interesting question. Would your answer still be no if you'd never been to the expo hall before and you'd never seen all the ships? Would that answer still be no? Because for me, I don't think it was. I still remember walking into the expo hall when it was in the Area 18 and realizing that what I thought was the ceiling wasn't the ceiling, it was the reclaimer. It was just like realizing there's this chuffing great capital ship over the top of you. That was chef's kiss moment. That was really, really cool. Might be not knowing the work they put into the old ones. It would still be no, because the new ships on display would be the most discounted. My answer was yes, simply because this year I couldn't be bothered to even visit the expo hall, and that makes me somewhat sad. Interesting. Yeah. I know it says Diet Lemonade. It's actually copium. I didn't have any other bottle to put it in, so I put it in that one. Having the Idris inside on a different floor. It would certainly convey the scale in a way that having it on a docking collar just can't. Obviously, there's certain ships you can't do that, because there's certain ships that don't have landing gear. Javelin. But there we go. So yeah, so that's where we are with that. Now it's time to have a quick look at my fleet and where I am. So if you tuned in for the one on, I think it was Origin Day, I did a quick look at my fleet through Hangarlink. This is Hangar.link, Starjump Grimm's and his team. Their awesome page. Really, really cool. Add as many ships as you have. There's two sides to this. This grouping on the left-hand side here are the ships that I own currently. Yes, there are a few more now. These ships on the right aren't actually ships, they're CCU chains. So what I'm saying is here is I have a character Polaris piece, CPU. I mean, that would be cool, but... And then a Perseus to Polaris CCU, so that's the chain. Here, I have one that starts at a Gemini, straight to an Endeavour, so... There we go. So that's what they are. No, I did not. And do you know why? Do you know why? I don't think it's in here, is it? Fuck. Alright. I'm going to add this, and we're going to stop talking about it. Okay? Alright. There we go. I'm not zooming in. No, you can't see it, but there you go. It's on its own over here, because it's bad. It's very, very bad, and I don't want to talk about it anymore. The only reason it's still there like that is I can't take the fucking skin off it, I can't melt it, I can't gift it, and I can't upgrade it. Thanks, Del. No. Thanks, Del. So that's where it is. It's sitting in the corner. Fuck that thing, right? So, what I have here at the moment is most of this hasn't changed. The stuff that has, the Cutty Black is just because it's Drake and it's almost equivalent pricing. Almost. I said almost. That's a Clipper. I now have a Drake Clipper. Okay. I also have the Wolf and the Alpha Wolf. They haven't done the Alpha Wolf model yet. They haven't done the Clipper model yet because Grimm's Away is the best, is to my understanding. Enjoying some well-earned time away from his PC. But there we go. That's where it is. So there we go. In the Protestari in the Eternity box, you're not wrong, sir. You're not wrong. So there we go. There's that. Badgers, why the Reclaimer, says Jambo Tech. That is going to be my top end with a crew non-combat ship. There's something about that ship that it's intangible, but I love it. Part of it is the idea that the internals are very much Nostromo alien themed, right? Love that. Absolutely love it. One of my formative ships one of my formative films, watching films and determining what I liked, watching Alien, as well as being utterly effing terrifying. Just yes. That whole sci-fi feel felt so genuine. You know, it wasn't hand wavium and stuff. It was all analog. It was all physical. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. Badgers, we love the Reclaimer. Good. I'm glad. I'm glad. The other thing I like about it is, so you've got 5 crew, is that you don't just have to do one thing, right? The mole is going to be really dull. You either fly or you mine, and that's it. With the Reclaimer, you have so many different options. You can fly it, you can be the claw operator, you can be one of the scraper arm operators, you've got the UAV operator, you've also got the part of salvage, which is, there could be bodies on it, there could be stuff in personal storage. So you could be one of the people that EVAs over and checks before you munch the hull that there's not stuff inside that's useful, that's worth salvaging. You could be the person, if the drones don't do this, to go over and do the salvage of components and stuff, to go and siphon the fuel off, for example. So there's so many different things, and when you get bored of one, you just rotate through. Do you want to swap? I'll do the UA, I'll do the drone stuff. You do the hull scraping. I really, really like that, and 5 is a reasonable number of players for me, I think, to get together and do that. That's the Reclaimer. That's the reason behind it. Aegis Titan suits will be insane for funding. Artemis, you're not wrong. So that's that. So that's where we are with that sort of stuff. So the additions are these 3 ships down here on this side. So I am 3 ships heavier than I was coming into IAE. I wasn't expecting to be, so I'm not going to talk about it anymore. In terms of CCUs then, I have picked up 2 more CCUs. So I'm just going to add them as we go through, and forgive me for having to scroll through and finding all this stuff. The first one is this. So I have picked up a Reliant Sen to Hull A, and that allows me to go to the Hull A if I want it, possibly use the price increase for something. So the Reliant Sen, $85, Hull A currently $90. That allows me to ride that price increase. It doesn't bother me that the Reliant Sen is only available during certain sales, because the Hull A is available, I think, to rent in game, and even if not, it's been around long enough. Clearly, I don't need it immediately, so I can just buy it when I want to. Okay, so there's that. The other one that I got was a little bit more strategic. So the other CCU I got was a ballista. I'll zoom in so you can see what I'm looking at here. Here we go. Was a ballista to the Expanse. Okay, and that's because that's primarily a content creator decision. So when the Expanse comes out, if that's the first ship we get refining on, and let's face it, it's likely, then I can very quickly go to that, and that's why I went from the Ballista. Of course, you could go up from a Razor, and that's $5 cheaper, but the Ballista is always available. So whenever this comes out, I can just get to a Ballista, and I've immediately got the Expanse. And of course, there'll be a price increase there as well. So it means I can do a video on the Expanse and refinery gameplay, if that's the way we first experience it in the verse. So that's where we are. Those are the 2 CCUs that I bought. I do want as well an MPUV personnel. I have the MPUV tractor here, but as you can see, there's enough stuff sat down at this end of the spectrum that I can kind of just go to one of those and use it for the purpose that I'm going to use it, and then that's done. So yeah, that's that. Any word on refinery gameplay coming to the PU? No, so I think they got a refinery interface working, and that's the last we've heard. I think the fact that they've also, when they were talking about crafting, they were talking about different qualities of materials that you'll get through the refining process. And they talked about you get different qualities of ore, and when you put that in, you'll get that quality out of the refining process. So that is not to say that that means that refining gameplay is coming. That might just be an update to the refinery interface on stations. But I don't see why they wouldn't start going that way, because that's going to bring things like mining gameplay and stuff back to the fore. Nice Fleet says, Wiggy, thank you very much. Luna says, the Reclaimer was my first vanity purchase, purely for the Aliens and Prometheus aesthetic. I forgot and don't care what mechanic it was made for. Nice. She is a good-looking ship. She's a very good-looking ship. There's something about her. And when you're in front of her and she switches those lights on, that's very, very cool. this English autocorrect needs to get it together. Yeah, my phone autocorrect often trolls me. That's there. Why not go to the hull B, says Pilgrim. So I'm leaving that open. I might go to the hull B. I might get something to the hull B. I might still get something to the Raylan. But at the moment, the thing with both of them is understanding where they fit in. So they don't fit in well to these chains here at the moment. So I'm not entirely sure where they go. I'm not entirely sure where the Raylan's going to end up. I might well do that with both. The whole B bit, specifically, you're all good, I'm covered. I've got 2 of them. What I might do is buy one with new money, because these 2 are both store credit, so I can't gift them. So I might get a 3rd one that I can then sell at a later date. I might start doing some trading like that. There we go. And so yeah, so that's that sort of stuff. I've got a thing for whole B. I've literally kept that because I genuinely think that the whole B is going to be a significant price increase. Am I picking up a Raft CCU? I don't know. I have in my buybacks. I have a Raft. I did pick one up back when it was just the 332 SCU containers. Again, my issue with a lot of this is I'm looking at some of them and going, why are they there? Like the Gemini to Valkyrie is just because that's a really nice step up in that price range. And if I wanted to, I could just do that, right? And that one doesn't actually need to be there. The only reason I've separated those chains out is because that's not a chain for me. That was literally, I had $5 left of credit. Or, sorry, I speculated for a $5 war bond up to the Galaxy. And again, the same with the 600i. So I'm really not sure. I'm really not sure. Sorry, the the YouTube creator program that I'm on is bugging me because they want me in a meeting and nope. I'm busy. I'm streaming. I'm working here. So yeah, that's where we are. What's really interesting about this chain is I don't want it. I don't need it. Is the point that I'm making. I literally went $15 Perseus to Polaris, knowing that that was going to go up, and I did the $25 Carrack to Perseus. So now, for the price of $375 price increase from Carrack to Polaris, $40. Which is weird, because you can't go much further than that. You can't CCU to anything over $1,000. But, there we go. That's where I am with that. Turkey King, welcome in, my friend, and to everyone else that I haven't seen. Stuart, I don't think I said hello to, and a couple of others that have popped in that I probably haven't said hello to, but I was going to. So welcome in, everyone. Thoughts on the Asgard for the daily all-rounder? Yes, lots of forward firepower. I mean, it's not going to win it's not going to win many dogfights unless you get the drop on people, because you'll burn them down quite quickly. But in terms of the space inside, it's not a bad option at all. Cargo, vehicles, mix of both. It's a good ship. I'm just getting that. Sorry, my brain just 404. Then did you see that? I'm just like ding 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 ding. So someone clip that and stick the ding 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 over it because that the Windows shutdown noise, because that's exactly what just happened there. My brain just went, nope, you can't do this anymore. D Chippy, welcome in, my friend. I'm just getting the F8C, the Galaxy, and the whole C. Is that for your entire fleet, or from this IAE? So yeah. But yeah, that's where I am at the minute. I don't think for a long time now we're gonna see war bonds to the Endeavour or the Crucible. I just don't think. I think they know that they are massively underpriced, but they can't really justify price increases because they are so far away, these ships. So yeah, just this IE can't get the Pioneer. Yeah, that one went out crazy quick. Yeah, so there we go, and that's where I am at the minute. So it's kind of interesting. Like I said when I first looked at this, how your tastes change. I'm not sure that I'm going to keep the Condisaurus. Maybe that's a reason to get the Raft CCU, because then I've opened that cargo as an option. Don't know. I genuinely don't know. I think what I'll do is I'll wait because the connies have to be reworked because it's almost impossible to load it up fully, depending on the containers that you're using. So you need to be kind of aware of that, unless you do a lot of jiggery pokery going in at the sides and stuff, which it's not designed for because there's not enough room given the rear landing gear, but you potentially can. I mean, I keep loading it up from the rear. Maybe I need to be loading it up the front where the tractor beam is. But I don't know. I'll give it a go. But at the moment, I do find the problem is that overhang exists at both the front and the rear. So that's the bit that's the problem, is trying to get a container in that gap and then to sit on top. So it's problematic, right? The other thing that I'm not sure about here is the Apollo Medevac. So I really like the ship, don't get me wrong. But one of the reasons that I was quite attracted to the Apollo Medevac was the idea of drone gameplay going to recovered ejected pilots. I really like that notion. I think there was a genuine way they could do that as well, was they would have stretchers on board that would be part drone, part medical stretcher. And what you would do is the flat bed of the stretcher would click into the drone would put an air shield over it, it would go off, it would basically attach people, incapacitated pilots and whatever, to that. It would then come and recover them into the ship. It would seal with that person inside, the interior would open, and then you would have the option as a player to interact with it, pick it up, and then use basically the levitation part of it, like the magnetic levitation, to move it in, and then that would become the bed. Or you would transfer someone over, but that could become the beds for the Apollo. Clearly it didn't go that way, but in my head that made sense, of being able to transfer players, because a player in a down state, you don't need to interact with them, it's all about detaching from the drone, and that to me made sense. Obviously, it didn't happen. And now I'm looking, I mean, I've just got so many medical ships, right? I've got the Medevac, the Ursa Medevac, I've got the C8 Pisces, I've got the Terrapin Medic, and the problem is I like all of them. The Medevac, if I'm going to change anything, that is probably the ship that gets changed, or the vehicle that gets changed, because that's a referral token and I can't melt it. So what I've got to do is make that. At some point, I've got to identify a ship in this lineup that I'm never going to want to change. And then what I can do is take that ship up to that, take the Medevac up to that ship, and then that ship can become something else. So yeah. I melted the Apollo faster than anything else once it got released without the drone, says Starcell. Yeah, it was disappointing for a lot of people. And normally I can spin things pretty well in CIG's favour if I feel like it's justified. I don't just spin it in CIG's favour because that's my default position. As you've heard, I've been critical on a number of occasions this stream already. But it's disappointing. And that, to be honest, is why I think you got all the medical modules involved. That was a way of saying sorry. Basically, there was no way they were going to get away with selling modules for it after the removal of drones. I'm really hoping they reconsider. CIG, if you're watching, I really hope you reconsider and add that much later on down the line. But there is space in that ship to do it. There's more than enough space in that ship to do it in that lobby area. Please, just consider that. You wouldn't even need to push the trolley around. You could have the drone infill points at the bed. So they just literally slide out of the wall, click onto the bed, the drone detaches and buggers off. It's on the bed. I genuinely think that would be a cool way of doing it. But, who knows. So Marcus says, I got a Golem Ox instead of a Raft as I don't need the cabin. Enough carrier vehicles there to give it a lift if needed, and perfect for ship-to-ground hops. It really is. And it's very, very small. So for its size, it's going to fit into a lot of stuff. I mean, if you look at it, the 32 SCU container, the rear of it, and the thrusters finish at almost exactly the same point. And then you've basically got the cabs and the width of the thrusters on the side. It's in a very good place for two 32 SU containers side by side. Size-wise, it's in a really nice place. So yeah. Stuart says, I have an Apollo, but it just doesn't feel enough as it is. Maybe if it gets tractors, drones, or a medical science module, it would be in a better place. Very possibly. I mean, there's there's other things they could do. The thing is, that at the moment, medical gameplay is so quick to come and heal on, even to resurrect. It's not an issue. Maybe if medical gameplay changes, that might change it, and those ships might become more useful. Socially says, my Apollo will become my Galaxy. At least I can use the CR as my recovery vehicle. And your Clipper. Yep, absolutely. So Wiggy's CCU speculation list, so in other words, getting hold of a CCU just to see what the price increase does, is this. Nomad to hull A, 2 Cuddy Red to hull Bs, 2 Cuddy Black to Raft, a Taurus to Raylan, 2 Taurus to Raylan, Terrapin Medic to Raylan, so you're set. Absolutely not. And on the Apollo, Luna says, the Apollo was my most anticipated ship. However, I was always well aware we weren't getting medical drones. I was very realistic with that expectation. Yeah, I guess I didn't see the no drones thing coming. I didn't think it was going to launch with them. The minute we found out when it was coming, it was like, well, there's no way drones are going to come at the same time. CIG sometimes surprise people with stuff like that, but I didn't think that was going to happen in the case of medical drones. But the removal completely and them saying we don't see a place for it at the moment was disappointing. I'll leave it at that. So, Joffamir says, MDC out today, what do you think about it as an LTI token? Yeah, it's not the cheapest LTI token, but I think it's certainly something that can be used a lot. Yeah. Will the Ox fit in an ironclad? Absolutely. I'd be very surprised if it doesn't. People are talking about things like the Vulture fitting in, so I don't see why the Ox won't. I think that's I think it will. It might take a little bit of jiggery pokery, and you're gonna pay for more of it than if it's in a Carrack. Well, it's definitely gonna fit then. Easy peasy. So John says, why have you got a Retaliator? I used to have one as well, but I honestly couldn't defend it sitting in my hangar anymore. It's just not up to standard, and the layout needs a complete rework. It does. So about the Retaliator, what's quite interesting is there's another ship in my fleet, which is the Guardian QI. The CCU chain for that included the Retaliator bomber. So I have the torpedo models, even though I have the Retaliator base. Go figure. Just happy coincidence, right? To be honest, I like the B-52 vibe of it, and I also like. I like the B-52 vibe of it, and I also like the hitting power. I had a lot of fun. The Black Kite, the Reclaimer missions in Stanton. So I don't know if they survived server meshing. It's been a while since I've done them, but I did do, I think, either a short or a video on the Black Kite where you had to go there, and it was the one where you had to go and get some data. You had to basically go and hack something and send the data off to someone, and then you had to destroy the Black Kite afterwards. You could always self-destruct it, but yeeting a torpedo at it with a Retaliator was a lot of fun. And of course, you can do that in an Eclipse. I just think, the one person, I only need one person to operate this, and it's stealth. It just feels a bit cheaty for me. And I know it's not cheating. I'm just saying it feels a bit cheaty. So yes, I think if I'm going to go for a torpedo bomber, I really do like the Retaliator for the B-52 feel. A little bit of upgunning on it, certainly an interior rework, and I actually think an exterior rework. I do not think at all that the cockpit, the front section, fits the manufacturer in the slightest. But that's why I have them. So, yeah. I voted yes, but after Squadron 42. Wiggy says, the Tally is going to be a menace versus light ships in the future. Also, it's one of CIG's hero ships, so it will get love. Yes, so you're going to see it a lot in Squadron 42, clearly from the trailer and stuff, but I think it's going to feature a number of times. It feels like a flying sub. It does there is a feel about it when you get on it, and yes, it needs a lot of love. I'll tell you what else needs a lot of love is the Reliant series. Holy moly. They look like they were lifted straight out of the hangar module. Who of us remembers the hangar module? And plopped straight into a modern hangar. You put it up next to the Perseus, there is a clear difference in style, textures, the whole shebang. But, that's a good thing, right? It just shows how far they've come in the time that they've had. So, yeah. Luna says, I have a Tally too. It reminds me of the SR-71, the Blackbird. Nice. Which I love. It was my 2023 IAE purchase. Very, very cool. Well, I was very lucky. Look, I'm going to just have to keep saying this, right? I am blessed with some exceptionally generous friends. So the Retaliator was a gift. And I know that individual doesn't have a problem if I want to do something with it. And I'd be lying if I said at least part of me not changing it was not want to be funny, because I was talking about it a lot of the time and the person was like, just shut up, have one. Just stop talking. So that was part of the reason that I have it. But actually, I think there's going to be utility, not now, but in the future. And so I'm happy to sit on it because I don't actually need it for anything else at this point. I'm still figuring out what ships that I really, really want in the verse. There's something about the Herald, there's something about the Hull A, there's something about the Expanse. There's a couple of other ships that I think I'll earn in game. I'll want to own by the end of it, but I'm not so fussed about now. Ships like the Hammerhead. I'm not going to lie, I wouldn't mind owning a Javelin at some point. But that is absolute. That's like, for me, that's the end game earning game, right? That and whatever the battle cruiser is. And as soon as I've done that, that's going to be my start. I'm going to be like, hey, I've achieved what I wanted to in Star Citizen. But those for me are earning game. Those are things I want to earn the rep. I want to do the missions. I want that satisfaction of, no, I didn't buy this. I earned it in game. And I got to say things like that now because now there's just this thing. If I mention a ship and it fucking appears in my inventory, you know who you are. So there we go. Grabbed a Mako news van. That's the other thing, Truther. However, I hired it on that day, right? I hired it, and oh my god, I almost threw up standing in it. Because it's disgusting. It's so old. When they redo them, and when the Mako finally gets a release, and it gets updated to be modern metrics, because like none of the component bays open, and they absolutely need, like in the back, there's a terminal where the guy, or like whoever's doing the news sits there. They absolutely need a deployable green screen so they can put a background on it. The back of that thing needs to be a mobile studio. How cool would that be? If you're only going to do one news truck, do a proper news truck. It would be awesome. Please, CIG, just do it. Just do it and give us the option in-game to choose a background that sits on that screen so we can sit there and have it record us and we can do the face over IP thing and people could... We're already seeing this in the... Expat Brat has got this down to a fine art form, right? She's doing such a good job of like reporting in the verse and like her video when she was running around and people were leaving trash all over stations. I still end up crying with laughter at that. It's absolutely brilliant. Newsroom module for Galaxy. Anything like that. Just do it. Do it. And name the ship. Streamer privilege. 100%. That would just be live from a galaxy near you. Nice socially. I like that a lot. I like that a lot. Endeavour. Like offices of news. You imagine player-based news reporting. Org versus org. All that sort of stuff in the verse. Different, you imagine players covering things like the Imperator elections, where everyone's got their own take, and you've got the pro-AI and the anti-AI and the people that are like, oh my god, they're like the second coming of the messes, and just take modern-day politics, add a humorous spin to it, and then port that into the verse in terms of the way people just like polarize on every topic. It'd be so much fun. Can you imagine the debates you could have in the newsroom and stuff like that? Like, it would just build up this entire persona. One of the things that I found really attractive about Eve was all the interpolitics and the press releases they would do on the forums. That would just be very, very cool. But yeah. It's Wiggy says, oh my god, takes deep breath. I grabbed an MDC, Salvation, Golem, L22 Alpha Wolf, and Weapon Swap, and the Clipper plus paints. So I went a bit nuts this year with all the CCUs I got. I think I'm done. Did you already have a Perseus, Wiggy? Is that... Why not Perseus? Why not Perseus? But yeah, Mornstar says, that's what we call a good start. Absolutely, Mornstar. That's not a bad one. Very nice. I might grab several of each, says Truther. Melcy, welcome in. Did I see a comment from you before? It did. A Kraken with an Apollo on its deck makes perfect sense for a pseudo-capital medical ship. being that all capitals will only have tier 2 medical beds, allegedly. Melcy, sorry I missed your comment before. I did see that and mean to go and read it and then completely forgot. So yeah, it would be, you're right, and the news can be assumed to strict ones. Yeah. So the streaming in game, you kind of got to be careful of, right? Because people can put up some random stuff, and CIG, the way that liability works, CIG would be liable for it because they've enabled people to do that on the platform without release. But I'm pretty sure if they turn around to Expat Brat and say, look, we'll give you a channel if you're willing to go and do news and stuff and upload them, we'll vet them and then we'll put them on the news channel. Like, why not? This is one of the things about community built games is there are loads of people out there who would be more than willing to do that stuff. They would make that their entire in-game effort to go and report the news and do all the sillies and, you know, get the random stuff happening in the background, and like they would do that. They would absolutely go and do that. So that would be really, really cool. CIG just need to be able to control it, and obviously it's not going to happen now because that's going to take some effort. You're talking someone's got to write the requirements, it's got to go through legal, they've got to figure it out, they've got to research precedent, they've got to get people to agree, they need people to vet the videos to upload them. It means telling people ahead of time what they need to report on, which risks leaks, and there's all sorts of stuff, right? But that's not to say that down the line, which is why I think we're not going to... The Reliant Mako, I wouldn't be surprised if it's like the Endeavour, that we don't see it until after 1.0. They get the main thrust of stuff done, and then they're like, right, what are all the really cool side projects where there's a lot of effort to go in, but it's absolutely not required for 1.0? I think the Mako is one of those ships. But yeah. So there we go. MMO players are odd. We work for free, need to grind. Exactly that. And this is why I really like the idea of them taking buildings and stuff from different locations and understanding the footprint, and then what they do. If they can develop some sort of, like, you know, as map builders for RTS games, do that for us. But instead of like an open template, your map area is the footprint of the building. And they just say, hey, we want a bunch of apartment blocks. Go nuts. I would spend ages doing stuff like that, and you give everyone, each account has one option to submit. You can only submit one entry per category per time. That way, what you don't do is you don't end up with 300,000 low effort entries. If someone, you're going to still get low effort entries, there's nothing you can do about that. But if you know that there's only one thing that you can put into the game for that entry, and you've got 3 months to do it, hopefully most of us who are serious about it would take loads of time. And then, like a referral program, you have a submissions program, right? So you have an architect's program. So every time you get something accepted to include into the game, you get an architect point, and that leads to something else. You literally outsource the development of locations in the game to your community. And I think that's a really cool idea, but we'll see. Wiggy says, I was really tempted with Italian modules too. I even had one lined up, but my plans changed, and I think CCU to an Arastra instead. I went from torpedo bomber to massive strip mining ship. Sure. The Clipper, Golomox, Salvation, and MDC are actually going to be very useful. Very happy with this IAE, says Truther. Good. Socially agrees. I think CRG are getting better at making ships lately. Yeah, I'm going to cover that more in the finale on my thoughts on ships. But all I will say now, and I mean every syllable of this swear word, YouTube, so suck it, they fucking nailed it this time round. Nailed it. Oh, and I forgot, just the Star Kit and Dragonfly 30 minutes ago as well. Oh, did you, Wiggy? So yes. Just give us the cutting tool and 32 containers that are office containers. We can build our own container cities. Yeah, absolutely. Brother man, this may be a little off topic, but what are your thoughts on the engineering for both solo and crew gameplay? Hey, so looking forward to it coming in. I think, so here's the thing. It's going to come in and it's going to piss a lot of people off. Engineering is going to piss so many people off when it arrives. Because... does everyone remember when they first put weather in, and for a couple of... I'm going to switch across because I'm going to muck around with this in the background. for a couple of months, probably a couple of years, you couldn't go anywhere without your character walking at like half pace, like that into the wind, like they're walking into a blizzard. And you're like, why is there always a blizzard everywhere I land? That was done to demonstrate weather and to let people know weather was in the game, right? We didn't have at that point rain or thunderstorms. We still don't have the lightning so much in the way that it was implemented. We've got a little bit of thunderstorms and a little bit of lightning, but not the way it was shown off during CitizenCon. There's no blizzards, there's no this, that, and the other thing. That's all coming, but what they did was they upped that to see how it was working and to let people know that it existed. The same thing is going to happen with engineering. What we see in Test Branch is we see engineering happening very, very quickly because there's no point in your quantum drive or your power plant running for 40 hours before it breaks, because people are going to be like, hey, I played it for like 20 hours and nothing went wrong. Like, there is no engineering to happen. I didn't have to repair anything. So people are talking about they boost from a major landing zone out of orbit and things are already on fire. Yes, because that's the point of testing. And if you want the data back, you have to make it happen more than normal. So people are going to have a lot of ship break. A lot of stuff is going to catch fire. And it's going to piss people off because it's going to feel, and it's going to be, and it's not just going to feel, it's going to be overwhelming for gameplay. And it's going to be annoying. We are just going to have to grin and bear it for the first part because they're testing it. And they're showing us that it's there. And then it will get scaled back to the point where it's fun. But they need the data. And they've always said that people go into PTU for a short period of time. The real acid test of any feature, no matter how much they do tech preview, Evocati or PTU, is when it's released to live. That's where the real challenge is. So yeah, it's going to feel overwhelming for both. I think I can't wait. Just for the fact I'm waiting for the fighter jocks to start crying about engineering, and I'm just going to bathe in their tears. Because there are so many. You can see it. I did the video on the Perseus. There are comments in there about, I killed a fully crew one in my Hornet. Meh, 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 meh. I can't wait for that person to start crying about how engineering is breaking their fun. Obviously, I don't want fighters to feel like their fighters are not valued anymore, especially not anyone in here when we're all reasonable people. Of course, there are going to be things that break and there's going to be balancing that needs to happen. But this is going to be the benefit of having an exterior. When people look at things like the Hull A and the Golem Ox, why would the Hull A go up in price when the Golem Ox carries exactly the same amount and does it in such a smaller package? Well, the benefit of having that ship interior is going to be able to go and jump to quantum and then jump out and repair stuff and go and change stuff around and do whatever else you're doing. The Golem Ox, you need to stop in space, get out, open the panel. And if you also noticed that if you want to do that, you need to detach your cargo, because almost all of the component stuff is inside. It's inside above, it's inside behind where the pilot sits, and it's on both sides where the raft is. So if you want access to any of that component stuff, you need to detach your cargo. What's the price difference between a Hull A and a Golem Ox? It's that. And we don't see it at the moment because you don't need to do it unless you're going to do that one time you ever do it where you go, oh look, components, and then you close it and you never do anything with it again, unless you're someone who's changing them out. And let's face it, once you've changed it out, you never do it again. You know, you never go back there unless you're changing it again. So that's where the engineering stuff is coming from. It's going to be important because all of a sudden multi-crew ships and ships with interiors are going to start to show their advantages over single player ships and ships that don't have interiors. And all of a sudden, some of the price differences are going to begin to make more sense because that's why they've been priced the way they have. Venting currently doesn't put out fire. That's not great, Can. Yeah, absolutely. So there we go. Make sure you have a hotkey bound for open all doors and larger ships for easy venting when it puts out fires. Absolutely. I'm looking forward to engineering, says Wiggy1. Got all my fire extinguishers ready. I want a star kit and fire extinguishers. Shut up. I didn't think about it that way, but it totally makes sense. Yeah, that's it, Monster. And it's just the test stuff. Just coping, lol, says Malbino. I mean, sure. The only way we find out is when it goes to live. Melzy says, is there expectation of a ship which will be $800? I have a merchantman CCU to Perseus. I've already got the Polaris and Perseus. I'm wondering if there's a point towards holding onto it or not, or melting it. So there's no zero value CCUs anymore. So it'll have to be something more than the Perseus. The Nautilus may end up in that spot. If the Nautilus is something that you want, the hull E will likely end up somewhere around that, I think, just because of the ridiculous level of cargo on it. But yes, you are talking a lot less ships going into that slot, because of course they also have to be A, not hull limited, and B, not over $1,000, because neither of those will have CCUs. So you've got to be a little bit careful with that sort of stuff. Yeah, the can't CCU. So yeah, that's the not you can't CCU a whole limited stuff. Once it goes live, maybe you can. Don't know. Maybe they like the Idris, they stay hull limited. It's unclear. The BMM may go above 1,000 when it's ready, possibly. Although I'd be surprised. I think it's going to stay sub 1. I think it's going to stay sub 1K, but I might be wrong. And Kasune says they could have gotten engineering into open tech preview much sooner, so more people could have tested it for longer. And there's nothing to say that they won't, they won't continue massively refining it. So we'll see. Thank you for a great explanation. You're very welcome, my friend. More important is, when can I buy my premium fire extinguisher CIG? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're going to be microtransactions. When you need to refill your fire extinguisher, you can only get them through the store. Marcus says, when venting, make sure you forget to inform the crew for the horror videos afterwards. Yeah, and just sucked out the airlock. Lol. Odyssey should be in the 800 range. Yeah, Odyssey will end up over 800. You're right. Or at least 800. But yeah, probably over. You're probably right. Yeah, so that's those. Premium fire extinguisher with limited paints. I reckon cloaked fire extinguishers, so they're invisible. You've just got to run around hoping you can interact with it. If you find it, if you point at the right place. Truther wants hot pink. Yeah. Well, sorry. Mornstar wants hot pink. There you go. So engineering is being shipped to live in 2025. It's being shipped to live in 4.5. It's 4.5. It's going. That's not a rumor. That is a 100% confirmed. So let me go in. I'll go and have a look. I'm going to go and find it on that screen. So I'm going to get flashbanged at some point. But let's have a look. Where are we? Explore roadmap. Do you think we'll get NPC firemen? Yeah, I reckon so. Oh! I broke the camera. Why did I break the camera? Hi. I broke the camera. Sorry. My bad. Yeah, that was it. It was the idea of NPC firemen. That's what threw me. It's I'll leave it up to you why that broke me. I'm sure you'll have your own theories. So where are we? Gameplay. Engineering gameplay 4.5. Quarter 4. Next patch. Fire. Next patch. And also, kind of cool, physical helmets. No longer will your helmet look like a box. No longer will it just disappear into your kit somewhere random when you take it off. It will clip to your belt. You'll carry it. The internal part of it is physicalized, just like that. You remember the massive round of applause when, way back when, in like 2015, 2016, someone picked the helmet up, flipped it, caught it, and then put it on. That's coming. Maybe not that specific move, but that. So yeah, I completed my Odyssey chain this week. Congratulations, Melzy. That's good news. The CCU games was a 5-year-long journey, but absolutely worth it. Over 3K in savings. There is a lot of money to be made in CCUs if people are after that. Oh no, you froze. Oh, we had a panic attack. Well, sorry about that, but also not sorry. That's my face. It's the only one I got. Which film? I'm not liking that face. Name. It's the only one I got. Who knows the film? Bonus points. I don't know what the reward is. Maybe I'd blow you a kiss on camera or something. I don't know. That'll stop people responding. Fire in the game makes me wonder what happens to the Aspire Grand, considering there's a PU fire burning under it. I'm hoping that won't become a thing. Last word, sneak peek showed a physicalized chest piece too. That would be very cool. And so they are also in the in Nick's in the armory space as physicalized chest pieces. So that's cool. Armor becoming physicalized. No. They need to add more carry animations as someone who carries a helmet a lot. You don't always carry it the way they show it. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah. There we go. So that's what's coming next. Is there anything else that's in there that's huge? FPS AI improvements. So they're going to be less Derp Team 6, more SEAL Team 6. New hairstyles. Woohoo! Why is Jared in the middle of that? Vulkan renderer improvements, increasing both stability and speed of the Vulkan renderer with many crash fixes, diagnostic improvements, and multi-threaded render submission. What I understand from test tech preview at the moment is that it's not working as well as people would have hoped, with various issues with drivers and stuff like that. However, when that comes in and they've implemented it properly, it should provide some pretty useful improvements. Jared is everywhere. Yeah, I keep hearing him walking around Nick's. And then new barrel attachments. Scorched tweaker power levels as well as a new tactical Volt flashlight. So that might be the one that flashes, which is great because now you can give people with epilepsy fits. Yeah, that's a thing. So there we go. And when I say I'm great, I'm being sarcastic, obviously. So there we go. WDY. Sorry, I'm not. I'm just going to go with WDY because I'm not sure how else I'm supposed to say that. I believe they'll do the same as they did last year, have a stable version at Xmas and a test version. The test version becomes live in January. Very possibly. I mean, engineering is such a big kind of change for Star Citizen. So yeah, there is that. But yeah. Wow. Truther says, with ship price increases and CCU savings, I've saved just north of 8k so far. Awesome. And if you guys want to show off your fleets and stuff, in the Discord, which is linked in the description below, we have a post your fleet section. So you can come off and show your fleets off to your heart's intent, or content rather. Entirely up to you guys. But that's where we are for today with IAE and everything else. I'm just going to see. I don't know. Is there any point going back to the IAE phase, the IAE screen? So people know, the War Bond, if you weren't in at the time, is the SRV. Interesting choice. New vehicle, the MDC, with a Gatling point defense turret on top. It also comes with all the other point defenses. So there's an energy one and a missile one, which is useful for $50. Get some paints with it as well. Time limited paint for that. So just be careful. It does say specifically that it is an IAE time limited paint. Don't get confused with the alien stuff, because a lot of the alien paints keep coming back for Alien Week. I'm not sure if that one will. And if you really like the paint job, I would say don't take the risk, even if you just put it into buybacks. Once you've bought it, you can melt it after 24 hours. It goes into your buyback. So even if it disappears everywhere else, time limited, you can get it back. So buybacks for stuff like that is useful. And as we said, the War Bond, CCU, there we go, is the SRV. $15 off the SRV from 165 down to 150. So maybe that's useful to people, maybe it's not. It is a nice $15 saving. So if you want to make a little bit of extra saving in your CCU chains, there's your option. We don't know what's coming back for the finale stuff. We don't know whether there's going to be a different deal for each day of the finale or set of deals, or whether it's going to be one set through the entirety of the finale. All I will say is when you come back tomorrow, we'll have a look at what's going on with the next set of manufacturer ships, which, do you know what, is Crusader, right? So Crusader and Tumbrel, and then enter Aegis Dynamics. For the Best in Show Day, I will likely not be here. I've had a very kind invitation to go and see some people up in London. I'm going to go help them put their Christmas decorations up and get drunk whilst doing it, which I'm really looking forward to. The Best in Show stuff, anyway, it's just paint, right? So there's that. However, having said that, what I will do to help lead you in is about an hour before all the Best in Show stuff goes live. there's a video that's going to go up. This video I have not talked about before, except to a select group of people in the Discord. Something very exciting has happened with my channel. And I want to talk about it. And I want to show you guys. So I'm really excited. That video is going to go up on Saturday, just before the Best in Show stuff. And when I'm back, we will talk about it. But yeah, I'm looking forward to revealing that all to you on Saturday. So an hour before the store goes, 3 p.m. UK time on Saturday. New video for you guys. News for the channel. Very exciting stuff. I'm really hyped to bring it to you guys. It's going to be cool. So yeah, Seda, says Luna. I've never heard it called that before. That's kind of cool. Wish I could CCU the rest of life. Yeah, wouldn't savings in real life be cool? I'm looking forward to the thanks for the stream badges, says Major Star Stuff. Very welcome, mate. Good to see you. We will catch up. We still need, I'm really looking forward to, Major Star Stuff and I are going to have a chat about what's going to happen with Squadron 42, and we're going to record it and we're going to bring it out as a video. Maybe like a podcast format. I'm really looking forward to doing that with you, dude, and we'll talk about that sometime in the near future if you are still up for that, but that will be awesome. What, he's going to leave us on a cliffhanger? Sorry, Monster, I gotta have you guys coming back. This is what it is, right? A little bit of the old white powder in RSI or in Star Citizen form will, and then get you back on Saturday because I'm not going to be here. But exciting news, and I'm really pleased to be able to bring it to you. I'll be away for your video reveal. Go to see Lenny Kravitz. Very well, mate. Wiggy, enjoy that. I mean, I'll see you tomorrow and Friday and stuff. But yeah, that's awesome. Lenny Kravitz, enjoy that. That will be quite a night to remember, or not, depending on how drunk you get. So that'll be good, whichever way that ends up. And I hope you have a stonking. Is that the right word? A stonking time. That'll be good fun. So that's where we are. That's everything that's going on. It's been an interesting day in the MDC. I'm going to go and have a look, but now I need to go and sort out some CCU stuff. And with the greatest of respect, I'm not doing that with you guys watching. I'm not going to go rooting around in my account. I trust most of you. Some of you I don't, and you know who you are. You've been watching Drinkers of Gaming Problems. Thank you very much for stopping by. I'll see you soon.